Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Across the Sky, our Lee Enterprises weather podcast. I'm Matt Hollander, covering weather for all of Lee's Midwest websites, apps, and social media accounts from Chicago. And I've got the rest of the team here with me: Joe Martucci with the Press of Atlantic City, Kirsten Lang with the Tulsa World in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Sean Sublett with the Richmond Times-Dispatch in Richmond, Virginia. And this is going to be a fun episode. Hopefully you tuned in and heard our top 10 weather movies episode. If you haven't, you can go back and check that one. But this time, it's the top 10 weather songs. It has been a process putting together this list, right, guys?
Yeah, no one can say that we didn't do our due diligence on this one.
We started with, how many was our original list? It was 54 songs. So we basically all just said, songs about weather, go. And we came up with a list that was 54. And then we said, well, this isn't going to work for a top 10. And so we have done multiple rounds of voting. I'm basically starting with, all right, now that we've got this long list where we all threw down ideas, we kind of all got together first. I guess the first thing we did was we said, all right, which of these songs are really about weather? Like, which ones? I mean, because there's so many songs. I didn't realize like how many songs have mentioned a little bit about weather, but a lot of them are using weather to kind of talk about something else. It's not really weather focused. They're kind of using weather as a metaphor. Often they're love songs they sing. They're talking about how, oh, my love life is tumultuous. It's like a hurricane, like a tornado. There are lots of examples of that. So we were like, all right, let's see if we can get some songs that are really focused on weather and really reference weather throughout, and not just a quick reference, and they're not really talking about something else. So that eliminated a lot of them. So I think our original list that came up with 54, we got it down to 26, kind of just talking back and forth from each other. And then we started ranking them. We each picked our top 10. And so then we started to realize, oh, okay, we start to agree on some things. And so then it was still too many songs. I think we had 15. And so then we came up with a point system and started giving more points to our top songs than our lower ranked songs. And so finally, we whittled it down almost to 10, but actually 12, because there was a tie for 10th place. It shows you how much controversy there is. Before we start breaking down our 12 songs that we're actually going to need your help with to decide, because we really want a true top 10, we got to bring in our guest for this episode. And it's a guest we know very well. And if you listen to our Hot Off the Wire podcast with Lee Enterprises, then you might already know him. It's Terry Lipschitz, and he's the producer for the Across the Sky podcast and is a huge help. This podcast would not exist without him. So we are glad to bring him on the podcast in front of the mic. Terry, how are you doing?
Thanks, Matt, for having me. I didn't like egg my way into this in any way because I'm your producer and just said, hey, work me in somehow. None of that happened at all. But no, I appreciate you taking some time to do this. I think it's a fun episode. And as you talked about, we whittled down the list to kind of eliminate. There's a lot of songs like, Thunder Road by Bruce Springsteen, nothing about the weather. Lightning Crashes, November Rain. There's a lot of great songs out there, but we kind of worked out of those, and I think we came up with a pretty solid list. And then, just for me personally, it was fun to do because I spend a lot of time when I'm not working on podcasting for Lee, when I'm not doing family stuff at home. I'm in my basement, I'm spinning records, I'm listening to music all the time. Pretty active on social media and stuff like that. So it's fun. It was a fun one for me to do. So I appreciate you bringing me on.
Yeah, when we suggested the idea, it's like, hey, we should do we're thinking of other top 10 lists that we could do. So we did top 10 weather movies, we did top 10 weather songs, and you jumped on it. You said, hey, here's some ideas. And we're like, well, Terry, how about you just join us for this episode? So we are glad you came in. You contributed some good songs with our very long opening round list, and fortunately you helped in the narrowing down process, because like I said, you don't think about it until you actually sit down. You're like, man, there are a lot of songs about weather. So it was tough getting to this point, but I think we're ready to get underway.
Just to interject too, and to really get to the point, I think this is a really good weather list. There's other people have done weather lists before about songs, and I was looking through them, and I think the big difference between our list, and this is a podcast about climate and weather, right? So we took the time to actually narrow down the songs that were about climate and weather. there was one list out there that I found that had Hurricane by Bob Dylan as its number one song, and that's a song about the wrongfully convicted boxer Reuben Hurricane Carter. It has absolutely nothing to do with weather. So, we didn't make that mistake. So our songs are rock solid weather songs.
And I think you'll see that there's a variety here as well. So if you like a certain type of music, I think we're going to eventually, you'll be pleased with at least one of our selections. I'm sure this is going to be a list that's going to be up for debate. And I think it already starts when we look at our number 10. We're going to go in order from number 10 to number 1, and this is how we ranked them. But the interesting thing was that the one that just barely made it was the one that we disagreed on. We had a 3-way tie for number 10. So technically we have a song list that's 12 songs long right now, but we're going to ask your input on this one. But let me mention the 3 songs that are tied for number 10 in our ranking system. So we have When the Levee Breaks by Led Zeppelin, Under the Boardwalk by the Drifters, and Riding the Storm Out by, do we go REO Speedwagon or do we just say Rio Speedwagon?
Nobody says Rio Speedwagon. Stop it, Matt. You young people.
I'm a little too young,
not knowing the classics. Go away. It's REO Speedwagon. I'm going to pull my old man card out.
So those are the 3 that tied for number 10. If I had to pick one, even though I botched their name, I think I would say my number 10 would be Riding the Storm Out. I think the song is great. I mean, a lot of these, I think you don't say that about all these songs. I enjoy all these songs, but also lots of weather references here. And actually, you go into the history of the song, it was also the song that was the title track on their album of the same name. And they actually wrote the song after they were stuck in a blizzard after a show in Boulder, Colorado. So weather was the inspiration for this song. And so they literally were riding the storm out. And they talk about it's a snowstorm. You can definitely see it in the lyrics when they're describing it. And so not only is it a good song, but it is inspired by weather and it mentions weather throughout. So that would be my number 10. But do we have any supporters for When the Levee Breaks and Under the Boardwalk?
Yeah, I want to go with the Zeppelin again, pulling out my old man card here. When I first heard this song, When the Levee Breaks, it's off the 4th Led Zeppelin album. Sometimes those of us of a certain age will call it Zoso, but that's another discussion for another time. This is about just a pouring down rain, and it's based on a blues song from the 1920s. Led Zeppelin reimagined this. The original people who put this together were called Kansas Joe McCoy and Memphis Minnie, who wrote this song in 1929, inspired by the Great Flood of 1927. So if it keeps on raining, the levee's going to break. If it keeps on raining, the levee's going to break. So that's kind of the big thing there. It's just got a great blues riff. I like the way they reimagined it. I went back and listened to the original. Obviously, it's a lot different. It's a lot different era, but the bass, the harmonica, the tone. I voted hard for this one, y'all. I did. I just love this song so much. I mean,
I was with.
Go ahead, Terry.
I was with you on this one, Sean, and maybe it's just because the 2 of us have the combined age of well over 100. But but it's all 3 of these songs I think are solid. Yeah. Top 10 easily could have been in the top 10. Riding the Storm Out is a banger. I'm not a huge arena hard rock, early 1970s arena hard rock. So I kind of had this one down as maybe a 3 on, for me of those 3. When the Levee Breaks, I love it. And I love the historical significance of it. And I think that's the one thing with this is because of that historical significance of the Great Mississippi Flood. I would have had this one higher, I think like top 5 easily for me personally. But I think, through the voting, I would, encourage voting toward this one if we're going to do any of that, pushing folks in any way. So that's why I like it. It's a really cool song too. It's a really cool song too. Obviously, it's got the Jimmy Page riffs, which everyone knows, but also the drumming of John Bonham. So if you ever get a chance, there's a 2008 documentary called "It Might Get Loud," which features 3 generations of electric guitarist Jimmy Page from Zeppelin, The Edge from U2, and then Jack White from the White Stripes. And Jimmy Page talks about how they recorded it, and they had John Bonham in this old like stone, almost like a castle, and they hung microphones from above the staircase to capture it, and it's just explosive drumming. So it's a great weather song, but it's just a real banger of a song on top of that.
I don't have any historical significance to add to any of these songs other than the fact that I just know Under the Boardwalk and I didn't know the other two. And I had to look them up. So that's why I put that one as my vote. But look, guys, y'all have already started swaying me as to maybe I should have gone back and voted a little differently. I don't know.
Terry, I'm a little disappointed as a guy who's from New Jersey that you didn't vote for Under the Boardwalk. Don't you hear that all the time? Wildwood Boardwalk, going down to Seaside Heights. That's like the anthem here. One of the anthems for the summer. So that's mine. Here's my other thing too with REO Speedwagon. Riding the Storm Out, there's about 5 words in that song. It's just a repetition of riding the storm out 5 different times. So I'm not saying it's a bad song. I like REO Speedwagon. Roll with the Changes is one of my favorite songs of all time, but I'm going with Under the Boardwalk on this one. Plus, it's a more positive song. It's talking about sunshine. Maybe you're with your, girlfriend or boyfriend. It's just more positive, than the other two. So I'm going to go with Under the Boardwalk.
Yeah, I am from Jersey, as you mentioned, Joe. I was actually born in New York, grew up in Jersey. I have great memories of the song. Anytime I hear it, I think about my parents hopping in the car, driving down to the Jersey Shore, Seaside, Asbury, wherever. Great memories. But ranking those 3 songs, I just got to go with the Zeppelin tune.
It's fine.
Joe,
It's
there's more than 5 words. I mean, look at the opening lyrics. I'm not going to sing it. I'm going to read it. Riding the storm out, waiting for the thaw out on a full moon night in the Rocky Mountain winter. My wine bottle's low, watching for the snow and thinking about what I've been missing in the city. They're stuck and they're drinking.
Why are rock stars drinking wine
to this song?
Yeah,
They
why?
should be drinking beer if they're rock stars. This is not yacht rock.
It's a little bit of a surprising choice. You do
That is a pretty good Sirius
REO
XM
boys,
station,
end of
though.
the
Yacht
line.
Rock
I
Radio.
love Yacht Rock, Sean. Yeah, I was gonna say, don't hate on that.
No, I'm
Serious
not hating on it.
station.
You should
I
hear me
love
do
it.
my Michael McDonald impersonations after I've had a few, because that's a different thing altogether. But we should probably move on. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, let's rock
Well,
and
we
roll.
need-
No pun intended.
But we need to settle on a number 10. So we're going to leave it to you, the audience, to decide what should be number 10. Is it going to be When the Levee Breaks, Under the Boardwalk, or Riding the Storm Out? And Terry, can you explain how folks can weigh in on this so we can get a true number 10?
Yeah, so we have a poll created. You go to the show notes in this podcast, and there'll be a link to that. So just go to the link and click on the favorite tune of the 3, and then one of you will come back and share the results in a coming episode.
Yes, so please vote and we will share, because we could not decide clearly. we completely tied out. There's debate we've just shared, but hopefully you can decide whether it's you just like the beat of the song the best or you think one really is the most weather related. Weigh in on that poll and we will share the results. And also, by the way, we're going to link in the show notes the Spotify list so you can listen to all these songs. If you were hoping that we would play clips from these songs, sorry, we don't want to get in trouble with the copyright folks. So we will not be playing any of these songs as much as we would like to. Would probably make the podcast episode pretty long too. But you can listen to the Spotify list that we created with all 12 songs on there. And then eventually we'll be narrowing it down to our top 10. But moving on with number 9, from here on out, we did actually have consensus on which was 9, 8, 7, 6. We just had that 3-way tie for number 10. But at number 9, it is Singing in the Rain by Gene Kelly. So, I mean, this is just absolutely a weather song. The guy is, and I think, what makes this so memorable is, since it's from a movie, the image of a guy literally singing in the rain. I mean, it's just iconic from an iconic movie and just an iconic song. And how can you get any more weather related than this?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's an iconic image. I mean, iconic song. I think it's one of those songs where I think almost everybody knows, and it's just something, it reminds me of being young, just watching a movie. And I think my grandmother used to sing this song, if I remember correctly, back in the day. So yeah, I'm on board with this as 9.
Yeah, the song was originally actually written in 1929, but of course it was the movie that came out in 1952 with Gene Kelly that made it famous, because you actually had that image of a guy walking around with his umbrella. He just even folds up the umbrella and he just is embracing it, letting the rain just fall. It's like, now there's a guy who loves the weather and loves the rain.
Yeah, I mean it's I think this is a solid pick for the list. I'm not sure I'm gonna put this one on heavy repeat on that Spotify playlist, but I don't think you can go wrong with this in the top 10 list about the weather.
Yeah, when we go back and you look at some of the the classic era as that time of the 20th century, yeah, I mean this is iconic. This is not legendary, but this really fits in, I think, with Americana in general. When we look at the history of cinema and culture in the United States, I think this is right up there. This needs to be included.
I concur.
Yeah, I think it might be one of those songs that everybody knows. You've heard it, but it might not be the song that's on your playlist. You might not add it to your music queue list just because, it is. I don't know. It's hard to classify it, in any particular category, and it kind of is its own thing. Very fun, very light, but it's a unique song, and the fact that it's from a movie. But I mean, it is definitely weather and very memorable, and everybody knows it. You've heard it at some point. You're not. Maybe haven't listened to it in a while. I mean, so we definitely had to include. But again, in our voting system, clearly it wasn't too high, though. Like, we definitely knew it had to be on the list, but that's why it's coming in at number 9. Now, number 8 for us, this one a little bit controversial, a little bit polarizing, because some of us love it and others not so much. It's Sunny and 75 by Joe Nichols. Now, and Kirsten, we're both from Texas, so if you're from Texas, you got to at least a little bit like country music. And so we definitely went with the country song, Sunny and 75, which, again, I think very few people can argue with that kind of weather. Now, it's debatable about what the perfect temperature is. If I was going to write this song, I think I'd say sunny and 72, because I think 72 is the perfect temperature. But we'll let Joe say a 75. Do y'all have a perfect temperature, and what do y'all think about this song?
Yeah, I put Sunny and 75 on there just because I don't know. Like, Matt and I both grew up in Texas, but I do want to mention too, and Joe can chime in a second. I didn't realize how popular country music actually was in Jersey, but Joe has told me otherwise. But there's a lot of times where I'm writing a forecast, and for whatever reason, the title of this song just pops in my head. I'm like, yeah, that's a good day, Sunny and 75. Keep on going. But Joe, I had no idea that it was a popular thing for you too, up in Jersey. No clue.
Yeah, listen, despite me living in between 2 major cities and not much, free space around, which is usually what you're thinking of for country music. I actually like country music a lot. My mom actually got me into country music. Apparently, she switched from like hair metal to country music when she had kids. So that's where a lot of the influence comes. But I do like this song, and if you're in Jersey, Kenny Chesney concerts always huge each year, packed at stadium and MetLife Stadium, and over at Lincoln Financial, PNC Bank Arts Center, which is on the Parkway, has a load of artists. So yeah, there's a lot of country music lovers in New Jersey, but the problem is there is not really, at least at the Jersey Shore, there's country music stations, but there's not country music stations in New York, which a lot of northern New Jersey gets. So that's your lesson on country music in the state of New Jersey.
I think we figured out what Terry wants for Christmas this year is just a ticket to the Joe Nichols concert or Kenny Chesney. So if anyone sees those pop up, if they're on tour, send it Terry's way.
Yeah,
That's
no. Yeah, Kenny Chesney, I am not a fan. I used to tell people I hate country music, and then I realized it wasn't so much I don't actually hate country music. It's just a certain type of country music, and it's this country music. It's this type of song. I mean, this is from the same artist that brought you Tequila Makes Her Clothes Fall Off. So it's just kind of I had a hard time even just getting through this one. I do like a certain brand of country music. The Johnny Cash, the Townes Van Zandt, Sturgill Simpson, Margo Price. These are real, to me, rock solid, more Americana style country musicians. And we do have another country song down further on the list, or higher on the list, so to speak, which I absolutely loved. And it's more along the lines of the type of country that I'm going to listen to. So as my mother said, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. So I'm just going to move on.
I will say this one, we almost didn't make the initial cut because it is somewhat of a love song as well, but he very clearly makes a reference. I mean, he's kind of talking about going somewhere sunny and 75, but bringing a girl along with him. But he does describe the conditions. If you look at the lyrics, he's kissing you in the salt air. I can taste it, I swear. Take me somewhere in sunny and 75. You and me on a beach chair.
Yeah, take them under the
So he's
boardwalk.
describing the scene.
That's where you go. It can be sunny. It can be sunny in 75 on the boardwalk, and then you go underneath. It's might not be sunny in 75, but it'll be a nice time.
So due to our high votes for the three of us, Joe, Kirsten, and I, we got it in the top 10. Joe Nichols, you're welcome.
Go us.
At number 8. But the next one at number 7 is one that is definitely maybe not as controversial, because this is literally telling the story of an actual weather event. The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald by Gordon Lightfoot. Number 7.
And I will campaign hard for this one. Everybody, I'll tell y'all straight up, this was my number 1. And again, maybe it's because of my age. I just turned 53. I remember hearing this on the radio and the AM radio in the 70s as a kid. It basically chronicles the wreck of this ship. It left Wisconsin with a bunch of iron ore. It was on its way across Lake Superior. It was hoping to beat out the storm, and it didn't. The wind shifted, and just 20 miles from shore, the waves overtook it, and it sank. And it was this time of the year, November. I mean, when the skies of November turn gloomy, and with the gales of November come early, all those feelings, and it's very haunting as well. The tone, I think, is very haunting. And for me, this is just, there's this one and there's everybody else. I mean, you can put the rest of them in any order you want. For me, this is number 1, and y'all can argue to the death about the rest of them, but this is number 1 for me.
Yeah, the song did come out in August of 1976 after the event, the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald, which was in November of 1975. So less than a year later, he wanted to do a whole song about it. And actually, there was an article that inspired him. It was in Newsweek called The Cruelest Month. And that actually came out just a few weeks after the event in November of 1975. But Gordon Lightfoot read that article and then decided to turn it into a song. I mean, in the song, he breaks down the whole story. I mean, what is the runtime on this song? It's pretty lengthy, but it tells the whole story.
It's like it's
more a story than it is a song. Like when I was reading the lyrics, I was like, holy cow, I'm just like basically reading a little novel here. Kind of reminds me of the lyrics of American Pie. Like it just keeps going and going and going. It's true. And going.
6:30 on the album version. It was at 6 minutes and 30 seconds when it first came out. So this is a longer one, but it does describe the event in its entirety. I mean, that's what makes it, I think, so unique, and why we absolutely had to include it, just because it's actually describing a weather event. I mean, I don't think there's any other song that goes into this much detail about a specific weather event, like one specific event, not just describing general conditions. But I mean, this really is weather history in this song.
Yeah, I think that was a good point too. The comparison that Kirsten had to American Pie. It is an epic song. I'm with Sean that this song, I don't know if I put it number 1. It definitely top 3 for me, I think. But it was a real solid song. It's a real epic. It tells a story. It's almost, from a standpoint of us being journalists, he was a breaking news songwriter. I mean, he turned this thing around pretty quickly. So it is a breaking news song. The Edmund Fitzgerald actually sank about 40 days before I was born. So just to kind of date me in this conversation a little bit, but it's a really good song. It's Gordon Lightfoot, one of the great Canadian singer-songwriters, up there with Neil Young, Joni Mitchell. So this is a tremendous song.
Is Justin Bieber in that too, Terry?
No.
Okay. Just wondering.
Right up there with Celine Dion and Bryan Adams.
So I'm going to be honest. I actually didn't know about this song until you guys said it. So I did my research on this, and to everybody's point, it is a very well crafted story of an actual event. So that got bonus points for me, but I actually did not know this song until you guys brought it up.
I'd heard it before. I was aware of it, but it's not one that I'd listened to in a while. But I listened to it, like, being a meteorologist, at some point somebody had mentioned it to me, the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. I'm like, oh, and so I was aware of it, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because it is a longer song and it's a little bit more slower paced.
Honestly, I think it's also generational. Terry and I are older, and this was a song that was on the radio a lot when we were kids, and because of the news. And as we got into the 90s and the aughts, it just kind of faded away from consciousness. So that's another reason. This is one of these songs that I'd hate to see lost to history, because I truly think it's phenomenal.
And moving on, actually, another song that may have been forgotten. I only discovered it actually just a few months ago. I came across. I didn't know it existed. It came out in 1981, but it's "Weatherman" by Hank Williams Jr. And then I realized, well, how have I not heard this song earlier? Because it's a great song and it describes my life's work being a weatherman. How was I not aware of this song sooner? But "Weatherman" by Hank Williams Jr., if you have not heard it, check it out in our Spotify playlist, because it is a country song, but even the two folks here that don't like country as much, they like this song. So Sean and Terry, what do you have to say about "Weatherman"?
I enjoyed it a lot. It's a really, I mean, from a songwriting perspective, it's really tight. It's just two verses total that kind of get repeated. But it's, Mr. Weatherman, what is your forecast? I need a major change. I can't stand no more rain. He talks about the ozone. He talks about tornadoes. He talks about sunshine. I mean, it doesn't get more weather than this. So I loved it. I thought it was a fun song, and it definitely made my list.
No, and it's definitely a fun song. I'm, as Terry said, I'm not as big into country. I'm more the Johnny Cash style, but I do like a good Hank Williams Jr. song every once in a while. So I think it deserves its place here in the list for sure.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with the song, when you're listening to it, he's basically singing to a weatherman and asking for a good forecast, because you can tell there's a little bit of a metaphor going on here. He's very specific about it. It's hard to say. Maybe he's just describing that it's been bad weather, and that might be part of it, but you get the sense that there are a few other things in his life that aren't going too well. And just by the way he sings it too, and the tone of his voice. And so at the very least, can he just have some nice weather? Because times are a little bit rough. But I will point out there is one thing from a science perspective he got a little bit wrong. I'm sure it sounded good when he was writing the song, but you can tell Hank, not a meteorologist, because he can't stand no more rain. He says he doesn't want any more rain. But so everything's been going wrong. Please tell me it's something in the ozone. And here it is. Or is the atmospheric pressure just too strong? And that doesn't make sense, because that means high pressure and it shouldn't be raining. So he should have said, or is the atmospheric pressure just too low? Not too strong.
You're right.
Then it wouldn't
That's a good
rhyme,
catch, Matt.
You're right, but
that's
then it
the
wouldn't
problem.
rhyme with his wrong. He had to go wrong and strong.
We'll give him
Right.
a creative license.
Yeah.
Technically, that's a flaw, and that is wrong, because that means his weather should be nice if the atmospheric pressure is too strong.
I like how he wrote in there. And I don't even know if he meant to do this, but I like how he wrote in there. I have too many highs and too many lows, too many storms and too many tornadoes. I mean, highs, lows, high pressure, low pressure. It's probably, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he meant to, kind of correlate the two with, highs in your life and lows in your life, but I kind of like that part.
I think he did. I think he's a smart enough songwriter to drop that in there.
I said you're going to give it to him, huh?
I'm going to give it to him. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He might need those, Sean and Terry. He might need it to be sunny in 75.
That seems to be what he's asking for.
That does
Maybe
seem like what he's asking for. Yeah.
It sounds like without Hank Williams writing this song, Joe Nichols wouldn't have written Sunny in 75. That's what it sounds like to me. I see the direct correlation.
Joe Nichols does not write his own songs, by the way.
Oh, look at, all right. Well, whoever wrote Joe Nichols' song, maybe that's the direct correlation. Maybe Hank Williams wrote the song for him. Do we know who wrote Sunny in 75, Terry?
Yes, we do. It was written by Michael Delaney, Jason Sellers, and Paul Jenkins.
By committee.
It took 3 people to write that song.
That's good. That's why it's so good. Hank actually wrote Weatherman. But if you've never listened to Weatherman, if you're going back and listening to it the first time, of course, listen to Hank Williams Jr. version, but also listen to the cover by his son, Sam Williams, because I'll make the argument that the cover by his son, Sam Williams, is better than his dad's version. I mean, I think he just nails it, like with the emotion and the tone. I actually think the cover by his son, Sam Williams, is better than the original. Maybe that's a hot take, but I'm gonna go with that. So listen to both versions. We'll go with the Hank Williams Jr. for this list since he wrote the song. It was first, but I think his son might have beat him on it. He does a great version of it. Yeah, so Weatherman is number 6. So that takes us through 10 through 6 with 2 bonus ones stuck on there. So we are going to take a break, but you got to come back for the second half because we're going to do the best part, the top 5 weather songs of all time. So stick around, more Across the Sky right after the break. Welcome back, everyone, to Across the Sky. We are counting down the top 10 weather songs. And before we move on to number 5, let's get you caught up to speed on where we are right now. At number 10, remember, it's a 3-way tie for number 10 right now. So technically we have 12 songs in this list, and we need your help. Vote to decide what is going to be number 10. Is it going to be When the Levee Breaks, Under the Boardwalk, or Riding the Storm Out? And I suggest Riding the Storm Out, but that's just me. So that's our 3-way tie for number 10. At number 9, it is Singing in the Rain. At number 8, Sunny and 75. At number 7, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. And number 6, Weatherman by Hank Williams Jr. Now, if you haven't been satisfied with the kind of songs we've been choosing yet, you might be a little bit happier with this number 5 song. It is Umbrella by Rihanna, but have to mention featuring Jay-Z, who has a prominent role in the song. And the reason I put this one in my top 10 is because every time I've gone to a weather conference and there's been karaoke after the day's events, somebody inevitably gets up and sings Umbrella, and usually multiple people join because it is a weather person, meteorologist song. It is just so catchy and fun, singing about umbrellas. And kind of like
Matt,
Singing in the Rain.
Matt, here's my question. How come we didn't do this when we were in Milwaukee in June for our weather conference?
I did. Was there karaoke that I missed one night? Because if I had been there, I probably would have. I don't know if I
don't think we scoped it out.
The lead, but I would have sung along.
Got it. All right, maybe next year's conference, we'll scope out some karaoke and we'll sing this.
But there's lots of Umbrella.
It's pretty easy. I mean, I like this song. I like this song. I used to like the song a lot, especially back in, I think this is 2007. This
March
came
29,
out
2007.
March 29, 2007 here. I like Jay-Z says in anticipation for precipitation, stack chips for a rainy day. That's true. You gotta always make sure you have a plan B. If you got a lot of money like Jay-Z, your plan B is pretty good, but I think it's a good life lesson. So that's where I'm at with Umbrella, but good song. Reminds me of actually being on the boardwalk in Seaside Heights back in 2007. Speaking of Seaside Heights for the second time in a row, I don't know why, but it just does.
Billboard Hot 100 songs really aren't my thing normally, and I probably would pass up on this one, but it's a fun one. I enjoyed it. It got me thinking a little bit too, to just when we're out and driving around with the family in the minivan, a lot of times my wife and my daughters, I've got 11-year-old twin girls, they'll usually listen to whatever the local dance Hot 100 type station is, and this is the type of music to be on it. Normally we get in and first thing we do is change the music to whatever I would like to listen to, because dad rules the day on the car radio. But most times, 9 times out of 10, change the station. But if this one comes on, I'll probably leave it go, and then I'll just start singing it at the top of my lungs, like, you can stand under my umbrella, Ella, and then the girls will be like, Dad, stop singing. That's terrible.
I will tell you, this song, I used to like the name Ella for a girl. And then after this song, I was like, it's off my list. Like I would never be able to name my child Ella again after listening to this song. Sticks in your head.
So is that a good thing or a bad thing in terms of this song?
Look, I am with you. When it first came out, I was all into it. It was on my playlist when I would go for runs, etc. But now if it comes on, I'm turning it off.
But when you're at a weather conference, you just gotta sing it because it makes it so easy, because it's that
And look,
I mean,
karaoke
anybody can
night.
sing
This
it.
one could
You
definitely.
can kind of skip the start and parts in between there are a little bit more difficult, but everybody can jump in on the chorus. And I think
we're
part of
booking
it is
it.
also, I think also part of it is just kind of a positive song because you look at the lyrics and said I'll always be your friend, took an oath, and I'm going to stick it out to the end. Now that it's raining more than ever, know that we'll still have each other and you can stand under my umbrella. Like that's just like being there for someone. It's like, I'll let you share my umbrella. We don't have much space under here, but I'm going to help keep you dry. So I guess it's not singing, it's different from singing in the rain because she wants to be under an umbrella, and keeping people under that umbrella is important. Under like Gene Kelly is just folding up the umbrella and it's like, let it rain. Moving on, number 4. This one, there's a little bit of debate about which version we could choose. But it's certainly a song that I think everyone knows. It's I Can See Clearly Now. And I think we're going to go with the original that was released in 1972 by Johnny Nash. You got to go with the original, kind of like with the Hank Williams situation. I think the cover might be better by its son. And you can make an argument, maybe there's some other covers of this song that are better, but we're going to go with the guy who wrote the song, Johnny Nash. I Can See Clearly Now. But one of the ones that was definitely in the runnings for another good version is the one by Jimmy Cliff. That I think was released in 93. It came out with the movie Cool Runnings, and that kind of brought the song back to popularity, back in the Billboard list. But we got to go with the guy who started it all, Johnny Nash. I Can See Clearly Now.
Yeah, this is a classic. It's a great reggae song. Johnny Nash is actually from I think he's from Texas, if I am correct. But he is a kind of a pop reggae singer. Had success in reggae. The Jimmy Cliff version for Cool Runnings is really good. It's been covered a lot. This song in the Spotify playlist, we have the Johnny Nash version.
Yeah, I'm good with it. Just a positive song. Again, one of those songs I think, everybody growing up just knows over time. So I'm a fan of it. And it's definitely, I think where we have it is a good spot for it, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's another one of these 1970s AM radio classics also. So I'm absolutely on board.
I like the song. It's a good one. I agree.
I can see clearly now the rain
Yeah.
is gone. I mean, come on, that opening line. It's like now he's happy. Again, we have so many different conflicting things, but some people. It seems to be that most of our songs are definitely more about, yay, the rain is going away. We got nice weather. It's not so much about There doesn't seem to be as much embracement about bad weather, except maybe like riding the storm out. But even there, like they're definitely waiting for the thaw out in that song. So there seems to be definitely a consensus. I think that's what we came back to, is a lot of folks wanting some nice weather. Life can be rough, so at least get the rain out of here and give me some good weather.
It's super positive. It's a great summer day. You're out, you're enjoying the sun. You're in a park, you're on the beach, whatever. It's a great song for the summer.
I mean, I think one other part of it's so good about this is it's going to be a bright, sunshiny day. That part of the song is just like, yeah. I mean, it's just a song that is just so catchy and so relatable. I think I don't think there are going to be many people that are going to find something wrong with the song and say, I don't like that song. This is just a tough song not to like. And I think that's the case with all of these this week as we go through our list here, which is now bringing us, we're getting closer to the top, number 3. Summer in the City by the Lovin' Spoonful, which I had heard before I did not put it. I don't think I put it on my original list. I had to go back and listen to it because I wasn't real familiar with this one. Maybe because it came back. It was released on July 4th, 1966. I mean, what a summer day to release the song. They were very specific. I mean, and this is, when I was listening to it again, it's like, man, this is definitely a summer song, and one that I can relate to growing up in Texas, because these guys, unlike a lot of the other songs we were just describing, they're complaining a little bit about how hot the weather is, and they're not too happy with it in this one. And so they're like, maybe summer isn't that great because it's pretty hot. So I'm guessing these guys were from the South.
It's a summer song. This is a real summer. I mean, when you hear the song, you're thinking about it's hot, it's humid. I mean, it's really what it is, like how unpleasant the daytime heat is. It's if you remember, if you ever saw the 1995 film Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Yes, that's what I
it's
thought of too.
The first non-Christmas Die Hard movie, because Die Hard is a Christmas movie. But it's the whole opening scene is like, it comes in with the bum, bump, boom, and the Die Hard words come slamming together. and then they're just showing people walking around New York and moving around, and it's hot out, and then all of a sudden something explodes. It's just, it takes you into a typical, Bruce Willis Die Hard movie.
No, that's a very good point, Terry, because I remember that. I'm like, where in film do I remember this? I'm thinking, was it Die Hard? And sure enough, there you are, you're jumping all over it. But yeah, I mean, I remember hearing it before that movie, to be sure. But that's kind of where it almost seems to sit now in pop culture. We're going back to the Die Hard franchise. This made me think of two other things. There's that aren't on this list. Hot in the City by Billy Idol. Again, very different, not on the list, but it made me think about it. And because I am a weather geek, this is the original Urban Heat Island song.
That's true.
I agree with you, Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, just to echo what Terry sounds like, like it's like hot, humid, like gritty almost feeling, like in the city, like kind of just reminds me of like honestly, like being in New York City. That's kind of reminds me of on a hot summer day. This is like the song for it. Actually, side story with this, a lot of this reminds me of a weather internship I did in New York City in 2011, because my friend who I did the internship with, we would drive into New York, and this was definitely on heavy rotation because it was one of his favorite songs at the time. So that's what it reminds me of when I hear this song.
Sean, just to also bring up our ages, our collective older ages too. Mm-hmm. This is Lovin' Spoonful, John Sebastian.
Right.
You know what other song he wrote?
Welcome Back, theme, right?
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.
The Mace song?
No, the theme to Welcome Back, Hotter.
Welcome back. You know where John Travolta got started?
Yeah, but isn't that? But didn't Mace do a remix using the hook from this into his song in like 1998?
Don't know.
No, am I the only one floating on the island? All right,
sorry.
We'll look it up.
But one thing, though, they're describing how brutal the day is. Going through that first verse, back of my neck getting dirty and gritty, been down, isn't it a pity? Doesn't seem to be a shadow in the city. All around, people looking half dead, walking on the sidewalk, hotter than a match head. But at night, it's a different world. So these guys definitely embrace the summer nights, which I will say in Texas, you definitely try and do things early in the day or in the evening. And I'm not an early morning person, so a lot of things in the summer do get done in the evening hours. Once that sun gets a little bit lower in the sky, then summer nights can be nice. But sometimes in the middle of the day in the summer,
oh, see, now you've opened up the summer nights. You've opened up the summer nights box there. There's that one from Grease, Summer Nights. And then, of course, Van Halen did a song, Van Hagar, and from the 5150 era, Summer Nights. So, there's a big old rabbit hole we could go down just with this.
But Summer in the City by the Lovin' Spoonful coming in at number 3. We're going to take one more quick break, but don't go anywhere because our top 2 weather songs are coming up next. We'll be right back.
You are getting sleepy, very sleepy. Your CPAP mask is clamped tightly to your face. Right, my darling?
Yes, dear.
You will not toss and turn through the washing. You will not throw the mask. You will not dislodge the hose and blast air all about the bedroom. You will not wake me, your loving husband, who yearns for even a single night of uninterrupted slumber, please.
It's not working, Harold.
People who struggle with CPAP have partners who struggle too. Luckily, now there's Inspire. Inspire treats the root cause of sleep apnea inside your body. While you sleep, Inspire keeps your airway clear so you can breathe normally and rest comfortably. No mask, no hose, just sleep.
When I snap my fingers, you will remember to visit inspiresleep.com to learn more.
Inspire, sleep apnea innovation. Inspire is not for everyone. Talk to your doctor to see if it's right for you and review important safety information at inspiresleep.com.
Looking beyond the atmosphere, here's Tony Rice with your Astronomy Outlook.
The next couple of weeks are a great time to spot Mars. It's at its biggest and brightest in about 2 years. Look to the east after dark for a slightly reddish or orangey point of light. That's Mars. Just to the left is the star Elnath, also known as Beta Tau, or the second brightest star in the constellation Taurus. To the right, you'll find Aldebaran, also known as Alpha Tau, or the brightest star in Taurus. You can also use the constellation Orion to point the way. Look for the 3 stars in Orion's belt. To the left, you'll find the slightly orangish star Betelgeuse in Orion's shoulder, and up a little further and a bit more to the left, you'll find Mars. Mars will be at its closest point to Earth near the end of this week, but it will continue to get even brighter until opposition next week. Opposition occurs when a planet is opposite the sun in our sky. This is when it's at its biggest and brightest. The moon will also be passing through the scene next week. On Thursday, December 8th, the full moon and Mars will be separated by a fraction of a degree. And this presents an interesting observing challenge. Mars is bright, but the full moon is even brighter. Really, really bright. It's about a -12 on the brightness magnitude scale. Mars is only about a -2. But you see, that scale is logarithmic, first proposed by Norman Pogson of Oxford University back in 1856. Next week, the full moon will be about 10,000 times brighter than Mars. So, try spotting Mars this week, and then try again the end of next. Try covering up the full moon with your thumb. Does that allow you to see Mars? It'll take a really, really clear night to pull this off, because humidity in the atmosphere causes the sky to glow with that bright moon. And if there's any ice crystals in the upper atmosphere, Mars will be lost in the halo around the moon. That's your Astronomy Outlook. Follow me at RTP Hokie for more spacey stuff like this.
Shout out to Tony Rice for another great astronomy update. Welcome back, everyone, to Across the Sky. All right, it's getting exciting now. Our number 2 weather song of all time is Have You Ever Seen the Rain by Creedence Clearwater Revival. Man, these guys cranked out some songs, didn't they? And then this has to be near the top of their list, even though they have so many great songs. I mean, it's not a very long song. It's not a very complicated song, but it's so catchy, so memorable. Guys, what do you think about this one?
This really was my first choice. I really like number 1, which we'll get to here in a bit. But number 1 sticks in my head too much to where I just sing it all day long, and it kind of gets. Anyways, we'll get to that. But this. Have You Ever Seen the Rain was probably my first choice. I just don't really have any other reason other than I just like the song. I just think it's a good song.
No argument for me. I mean, CCR is classic all the way. So, they're, as we'll allude to a little bit later on, they have more than one of these types of songs, but I think this is slightly the stronger of those two. So absolutely, always good to have CCR in the mix.
It's a great song. Like I mean, you can't go wrong with CCR. It was off of their 1970 album Pendulum. It's a classic tune. I think, really for all of us, we all voted it high. So it's an interesting song too, because it's on one aspect, it's about, I guess, sun showers. That's kind of one aspect of the song. But it also alludes a little bit to the rising tension of the band, because if you're not familiar with Creedence, John Fogerty is a very dominant force in a band. When you talk about band dynamics, it's usually one for all and all for one, except for CCR, where it's John Fogerty and then everybody else. And there was a lot of tension because, let's be honest, Fogerty is the stronger of the songwriters in the band, but the other 3 band members they almost wanted like a Beatles approach where they all could write songs, they all could be lead singers, and it was really Fogerty's songs which were kind of the best of the best. And his brother Tom Fogerty was in the band, so there was a lot of tension between Tom and John, and to my understanding, that tension went on through the rest of Tom Fogerty's life. Tom died tragically at a young age, and from what I understand, John wouldn't even visit him near the end of his life and resolve their issues. So it's an interesting song once you start learning even the band dynamics.
Yeah, I've read those same things, that the band dynamics were unreal, just absolutely unreal. It's like you said, there was Fogerty, and then there was kind of everybody else kind of just riding John Fogerty's coattails because he was the brain and the brain behind the band. So yeah, once you factor that into the idea, it becomes even that much more impressive.
It's not an overly happy song because it says, "Have you ever seen the rain coming down on a sunny day?" But they don't mention any rainbows. So it's not like
true, Matt.
It's super happy. It's not like, oh, and then there were rainbows, so it was really great. It's not like happy that the rain is coming down on a sunny day and there were rainbows and everything. There's kind of a somber note, but at the same time, like the song, you listen to it and it doesn't depress you. It's not like it's hard to describe it, but it's very memorable. It's very catchy, but like when I listen to it, I don't get depressed, but at the same time, I'm not overjoyed, but I'm not too sad. It's just kind of somewhere in between for me.
Melancholy, maybe.
A little bit, but not too much. It's like not like it's a sad song. I would not classify it as like sad song, like you're feeling depressed and it's like I'm gonna put on my sad soundtrack. I was like, this would not be on that.
I wouldn't say it's an overly happy song, but it's a good song. I like it. I think you guys pretty much explained it the way I would. So let's get on to I guess number one then.
Well, I do want to just and this kind of, we're going to move in. I guess we'll do a couple honorable mentions too before we hit one. But I do want to point out, so we mentioned that there is another kind of weather song from CCR that was under consideration, and that's Who'll Stop the Rain. I actually voted for that one, partly because I like that song just a hair more than I like. And I mean, I love both songs, so it's not like I hate one and love the other. But I thought that Who'll Stop the Rain is maybe a slightly better choice as a weather song, whereas the first one was kind of, alluding to things and also getting into some of the band issues. Who'll Stop the Rain apparently was written after they had performed at Woodstock. So, Fogerty's out on stage. He sees everybody kind of like, 500,000 people running through the muddy grounds of Woodstock. It had obviously rained a lot. So I think the inspiration to the song was actually what he had witnessed on the performance at Woodstock. So that I think just put it slightly ahead for me as a weather song. And it's kind of fun too. Springsteen is one of the artists that's really covered that song a lot in concert. He did it during the 80-81 River Tour, and then also during the Rising Tour, busted it out again. A lot of times he'd perform it when they'd be at an outside venue and it would start to rain. So then they would dive into that song, and it's a really good rendition. If you ever get a chance to hear it, it's not officially released, but if you look it up, on YouTube, things like that, you'll come across it. So it's a cool song.
Yeah, that was a tough one for me. I was going back and forth between those two CCR songs, but I knew I only wanted to pick one CCR song. I felt like we got to have variety in the list. So I like Have You Ever Seen the Rain just a little bit more. So that's why I got my vote.
Same way there. In terms of stopping the rain, that goes back to the Led Zeppelin song, When the Levee Breaks, when it keeps on raining. So I had enough. I already had one pick where it was just raining. So yeah, I went to this other CCR version.
If we're talking about other honorable mentions, how about Ain't No Sunshine by Bill Withers? That was another one that almost made it into our top 10. We got quite a few votes. I know that one was one that I threw a vote in for. Didn't quite make the top 10, but the problem is you kind of listen to it, and it's more about a woman and how when she's gone, then there's no sunshine. But it's such a good song. I mean, I like the song so much, but I guess the thing is, it comes back to like the problem we had with our long list that we started with, where there's a lot of like brief weather mentions, but it's not really about weather. And I guess Ain't No Sunshine is one of those, but it's a really good song. So
there
I
are
think
so
almost
many.
made it.
There are so many that were just analogies, right? I mean, there's, for me, and it has nothing to do with weather, but I'm of a certain age where I love Rock You Like a Hurricane by Scorpions.
Very good.
But of course,
Very
it's
good.
not really about a hurricane. Then there are things like, It's Raining Men by the Weather Girls. Of course, clearly not actually about the rain. So there are other things that are out there like that.
And they're called the Weather Girls. The band is the Weather Girls. Yeah, that was another one that we, it got some votes. It almost made the top 10. That was one we were definitely considering, but then it's like,
It's
definitely much of a stretch.
It's definitely an honorable mention.
Yeah, we didn't forget any, but there were just a whole bunch that just didn't make the list. And this is one of these things that you could sit around in a pub and just argue for hours on end.
I imagine none of you took it seriously because I think I was the only one that actually voted for it. But it's kind of along the lines of like, if we're going to put Singing in the Rain in there, which is a little bit, cheesy to a degree, because it's not one you're going to sit there. I mean, unless you're really into Broadway type of music. I think the average person, if you're going to make just a playlist of songs to kind of get you through the day, probably isn't going to put it on. Now, granted, this one, you're not going to necessarily put it on either, but it's one of those catchy ones where once you start hearing it, you're not going to unhear it and you're going to just keep singing along. And it's A Sunshine Day by the Brady Bunch. It's a fun one.
Oh my
it is kind of a weathery song. I was hoping that would get a little bit more love than it did, but it did not.
Sorry, Terry. Next time.
Wow. I had not
Well-
considered that one, Terry, but I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, and they did like the funny thing with the Brady Bunch is they seriously attempted to have a music career. It wasn't just a song that they did for the show. They recorded albums.
Mhm.
They were trying to compete to a degree, I think, with both the Partridge Family, but also maybe even the Monkees to a lesser degree.
Yeah, my mind goes right to Partridge Family there, Terry.
I feel like when I was not old enough to watch the Brady Bunch as the episodes were coming out, but they only were around for 5 years, the Brady Bunch. I feel like they had like just so many episodes. It was only 5 years. It's not, I mean, it's long, but it's not that long.
I didn't realize that. Yeah, I would have guessed.
Yeah.
That would have been like
Sponge
8 or 9 years.
SpongeBob's
so.
on year 23 right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the thing: SpongeBob, the characters never age. You know, the Brady Bunch. If somebody starts at 12 and finishes 5 years later at 17, you kind of notice.
They can just go to cartoons after all, just become an animated series, in retirement. Brady Bunch.
All right. Any more honorable mentions? Anything that we're forgetting?
Yeah, I had a couple more. Just do you have something, Joe?
Oh, no, I mean, I just want to give a shout out to my guy Swayze, because Swayze has like every single song is about California, sunshine, the beach, good times. I got to see him in concert 2 weeks ago. I even said maybe you'd want to come on the Across the Sky podcast to him, and he said he'd be down for it, so we could talk about California, sunshine, his music. That was my honorable mention for today.
I had 3 others, just kind of they were weathery, and I thought could have easily fit in here, but when you're cutting it down to 10, there's just limited space. One is Sun is Shining by Bob Marley and the Wailers. It was a song that originally appeared on Soul Revolution Part 2, which was an album produced by Lee Scratch Perry. It was before they signed on with Island Music back in 1971. But it's a good song. The lyrics are basic and simple. Sun is shining, the weather is sweet, make you want to move your dancing feet. It's a good summary song. I mean, obviously we've got another reggae song, which I think is the stronger of the 2 reggae songs if we're going to try to at least get one in there. So you can't go wrong with Bob Marley. And I always think like Bob Marley and the Wailers, if we ever did an episode just on like what's your summer playlist, there's probably a bunch of Marley songs you can bust out for that too.
We're doing that next May. We'll do the summertime tunes.
There are lots of summer songs.
Put that on our list.
Another one, which is kind of weathery to a degree, is Harvest Moon. It's a 1992 song by Neil Young off of the album by the same title. It won Grammy for Song of the Year, and also Grammy for Record of the Year. It's just a good like fall song. You get those the imagery of that harvest moon kind of hovering over the landscape, and the weather is starting to turn. The lyrics probably don't play into the weather as much as you'd like, but it's a good one. But there's the full moon rising, let's go dancing in the light. We know where the music's playing, let's go out and feel the night. So it's not necessarily, rain, snow, that kind of weather, but I think you can get that imagery of fall in your head.
A little bit of astronomy too, which often gets looped in with meteorology. We even have an astronomy report on the podcast. So
yeah,
that full moon rising.
And one other song too, I'll throw out there, and this is something we had offline a little chatter with Joe because of some Dylan stuff, but Bob Dylan has a number of songs that are a little bit weathery, and we're not talking about Rainy Day Women, which is everybody gets stoned, but he had a song off of his 1963 album, The Freewheelin' Bob Dylan. Now this is his second album, but it was actually his first album of all original music, Girl from the North Country. It's a really beautiful song. If you know Dylan, even though he gets associated, I think, with the New York City folk scene of the 1960s, he actually grew up in Minnesota. So he was born in Duluth. He grew up on the Mesabi Iron Range, which is, just off of Lake Superior. It's very cold, harsh winters. And I think, when you hear the lyrics of the song, especially anyone that's spent time in the Midwest, I think you can associate with it a little bit. So, the first verse of the song If you're traveling in the North Country Fair where the winds hit heavy on the borderline, remember me to one who lives there. Oh, she once was a true love of mine. And then in the third verse, if you go when the snowflakes fall, when the rivers freeze and summers end, please see for me if she's wearing a coat so warm to keep her from the howling winds. And it's really beautiful song. It's one of my favorites from Dylan. And I think it gets to kind of like a harsh Midwest winter. Matt, are you ready?
No. But that really describes it.
I got to shout out Dr. Alan Robach. He is one of our meteorology professors at Rutgers because he did his PhD dissertation on Bob Dylan and the weather. Literally, he did his whole PhD dissertation on Bob Dylan and the weather. So it just shows you the ever lasting impacts of Bob Dylan on American society, even in PhD dissertations for meteorology.
And that famous album cover with, I believe it's him and his girlfriend walking down this snowy road.
Susie Rotolo, yeah.
Yeah. Was that the one? Is that what Girl from the North Country? Is it on that album or another one?
Yep. Yeah, that's Free Willin'. Yep.
Okay, cool. Because we got snowy images and snowy songs. All right. I guess we'll do it for honorable mentions because we don't want to keep people waiting for number one. But before we get to number one, let's do a quick recap of where we are with the top 10. So at number 10, it was a three-way tie. And remember, we need a tiebreaker on this. The three-way tie was between Riding the Storm Out by REO Speedwagon, Under the Boardwalk by the Drifters, and When the Levee Breaks by Led Zeppelin. At number 9, it was Singing in the Rain by Gene Kelly. Number 8, Sunny and 75 by Joe Nichols. Number 7 was The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald by Gordon Lightfoot. Number 6, Weatherman by Hank Williams Jr. Number 5 was Umbrella by Rihanna. For number 4, it's I Can See Clearly Now by Johnny Nash. Number 3, Summer in the City by The Lovin' Spoonful. And at number 2, it was Have You Ever Seen the Rain by CCR. So the time has come. Drum roll, please. The number 1 weather song of all time from one of the biggest bands of all time. Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles. Here comes the sun. Do, 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 do.
There it is, Matt. There it is.
I know you know this song, and you know you have to sing along with it when it comes on. And how can you not at least smile while listening to it? I mean, this has to be one of the happiest songs of all time, and appropriately, it's about the weather. So, guys, what makes this our number 1 weather song?
All right, I'll start here because it's, the Beatles that helps. But, and it's not just the Beatles, but I think for me, this is also the time in the Beatles' career where you really started to see them branching out. I mean, this is a George Harrison song. For as much as we hear about, Paul and John and Paul, this one's all from George. And it kind of showed the new direction of the Beatles, or an additional direction the Beatles were investigating and going to. Because we just alluded to before, CCR ain't the Beatles. So I think for me, when you look at the weather concepts, you look at the Beatles, you look at their impact on music culture. Yeah, for me, this is pretty easy.
Yeah, I mean, it's about, right, like creation and positive things and new life and all that. So one of the this is like my main memory with this song. It was senior year of high school, and our history professor or teacher was playing this while we were all, maybe a little upset that school year was starting. He played Here Comes the Sun, maybe to counterbalance the sadness of the first day of school for us. But it worked. It was a nice sunny day. I remember that day very vividly, and it's only because of the Beatles and Here Comes the Sun. So shout out to Ed Powers for making that happen. Who, Sean, by the way, is from Virginia, by the way. He's a UVA grad.
Got it.
And I think, what makes some of the most popular songs out there are songs that are easy to sing along with. And this definitely is. I mean, it's not very complicated. There's a lot of repetition, but it also is just, it's so happy. It's so easy to sing along with. It's like very easy to get into the swing of it. And it's just like, again, a lot of positivity, easy to sing along with. I mean, I think that goes a long way. You know, if it's too long, too complicated, if it's not something a lot of people can easily sing, you know, or you need a big vocal range, like our national anthem is always a little bit challenging, and I prefer just to stand there and not try and hurt people's ears. But this is one I can sing along with. This one's easy.
It's a great song, and it is it's tied to the weather too. So if you understand the history of the Beatles and where they were at, this appeared on their last album, Abbey Road. And by last album, I mean chronologically recorded, it was their last album. The last album released was Let It Be, but that was actually recorded prior to Abbey Road. So there was kind of some conclusions to the band slowly coming into play. If you listen to Abbey Road, thinking about, okay, this is actually the final album that they recorded chronologically, there's a lot of finality to it, but there's also a lot of kind of, I think, some joy and some reflection and some happiness. And I think that's what you get out of the song. It was also an interesting one. I kind of looked into the genesis of it, and he went to Eric Clapton's house and actually wrote the song at Clapton's place. And it was at a time when the Beatles were going through a lot of tumultuous times over business dealings, and they were supposed to go and meet with a business manager that morning, and George was like, I'm done. I'm not doing that. So he just stayed behind and wrote it. And it was written also with the thought that winters in England, in London, can be really, really harsh. But he was writing this in the springtime, and it was kind of like, okay, this is, you know, the weather is going to get better. Things are going to get nicer. Here comes the sun. So it's just a really nice song. And I, you know, the Beatles have another song that could have been, or a couple songs like Rain and Good Day Sunshine. Those are both, you know, weathery type songs also from the Beatles. But I think, you know, you can't go wrong with them. And Sean kind of talked about too, he sort of becomes the forgotten Beatle. The Lennon and McCartney were such dominant forces in the band. And even if you look at all their albums, a lot of times it's like a playbook. You know, they'd have 14 songs on an album. 10 of them would be split evenly between Lennon and McCartney. And then they would give, you know, a couple to George to just have his moment. And then maybe like one or two to Ringo, just because, you know, you got to let Ringo feel good about himself. But some of the best songs of all time from the Beatles are Harrison songs. I mean, he was just like, he would get 2 songs on an album, but make the most of them, you know? So it's like, whether it's Here Comes the Sun or something, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, Taxman, just some really great music from George Harrison. One of my favorite Beatles.
Yeah, it's hard to say, yeah, what is the best Beatles song of all time? But if you're just going by what do people listen to, Here Comes the Sun, as of 2021, the most streamed Beatles song on Spotify. So the people seem to be liking Here Comes the Sun. I'm sure there are lots of other Beatles songs, but I mean, for it to be the #1 Beatles song on Spotify, that tells you how good it is. But Kirsten, you said that this is not your #1?
No, it is. I just didn't have anything else really of significance to add to it other than it's a great song. I mean, I don't have any kind of significance to add. It's a good song. I like it. Trust me, it was up there on my votes, but yeah, no, I mean, it just sometimes sticks in my head too much, and so that's why I didn't put it at #1.
Those songs that you just can't get out of your head. Yeah, I've been there before. And it's like, am I ever gonna get this out of my head? And this is definitely one. Again, it's so memorable. It's so easy, so catchy. But you know, if it's also memorable, that's why it's got to be high on the list. Well, that's it. We made it. Our top 10 weather songs, guys. I think this is a pretty solid list. And I think the amount of time that we spent on this, coming up with a really long list, over 50 songs to start, and then eliminating it and really trying to find some that have a really big weather focus, and then doing voting and each voting our top 10 and then putting points on like which ones we like the most. I mean, I think we did as good a job as we possibly can, though I'm sure people will still disagree with it.
Well, don't forget, we're going to be able to have people vote on what their favorite song is of the 3 top 10 options, and that will be our official number 10 on our list. So you can vote for that as well. We're going to have that poll out for you too.
Right, because we're currently sitting at 12 songs, and we need to get this down to 10.
Right.
It
We
was
couldn't
too much
decide.
of a struggle. There was still too much debate. So yes, you're going to have to help us out with that. But before we wrap up, I do have to give a big shout out to Terry. Thanks so much for your help with this one. I mean, once we pitched the idea and you started throwing song ideas out there, we knew you had to come on for this one. And honestly, thank you for all your help. I mean, with the editing of the podcast, promoting the podcast, I mean, honestly, Across the Sky would not be what it is without you.
Thanks. I appreciate you letting me on, and I'll go back behind the scenes now.
I
We'll
think
get you
we'll call
back
you
in
back.
front.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you back, Terry, when we do all of our summertime tunes. We have to put that on the list for late next spring as we get geared up for the summer of 23.
Sounds good. My mind is already spinning.
I'm sure it is.
You know, we could also do holiday songs because, you know, really, if you're talking about other honorable mentions, you know, there's a lot of like wintry themed songs,
Oh,
you know, like
heavens.
Winter Wonderland.
Oh my
You
gosh.
know, you could do a whole list
Right.
on like songs about snow, songs about Christmas that talk about snowmen and snow. You can
One
almost
thing
do-
though with this, and this is gonna be
Oh,
very
man.
important if we ever do a holiday, favorite holiday weather songs list, who is singing it? Because we all know that there is about 12 people singing the same song. So who is singing it? It's gonna be very important for these.
That's true. We might just have to say various artists, but sometimes the version does matter. Some are better
True.
than others.
True.
And Terry, also, if people want to see more of you, where can they follow you?
You can follow us, of course, Hot Off the Wire podcast. That's a podcast I produce almost 7 days a week. We have an episode. So, you know, look for Hot Off the Wire. I'm also periodically hosting our Behind the Headlines podcast. So listen for that one as well. And then if you just want to check out what I'm listening to at any given moment, I'm on Instagram at vinyl_Terry. And then I also like to share out my my Springsteen collection separately. I've been cataloging that on Instagram. So that's at Bruce Springsteen Collection.
That sounds like something that for every Bruce Springsteen, that seems like a must follow, a must see. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again, Terry. And I tell you what, we've thrown a lot at you, but don't forget to check out all these songs in our Spotify playlist. It's in the show notes. Or if you don't want to listen to it on Spotify, wherever you listen to your music, listen to these songs and then give us some feedback on social media. What songs did we get right? What did we get wrong? What songs did we miss? And most importantly, like Joe mentioned, be sure to help us break the 3-way tie for our number 10 song. Submit your vote in the poll attached in the show notes, then we'll tally them up and give you the results on next week's episode. But in the meantime, for Lee Enterprises, our producer Terry Lipschutz in Madison, and my fellow meteorologist Joe Martucci in Atlantic City, Sean Sublett in Richmond, Kirsten Lang in Tulsa, I'm Matt Hollander in Chicago. Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care, and we'll catch you again on Across the Sky real soon.